Shalom to the elect of Israel, to the hopeful elect of Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. Gotta give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. The Most High, the Heavenly Father, his Hebrew name is Yahweh. Not Yahweh, not Jehovah, not God, not Elohim, not Most High, not Lord, not Yah, not Jah, not Ahaya, not Allah. It's Yahweh. And his only begotten son name in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shai. Not Yahshua, not Yeshua, not Jesus Christos, not Jesus Christ, not Serapis Christos, not Yeshaya, not Yehoshua. It's Yahweh Shai. So got to give all praises and glory to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rikah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether concepted or not. And a sincere salutation to all the ark and pushing this truth and believing this truth throughout the four ends of the earth and the entire world, waking up the hopeful elect. Shalom to the Akwath who are listening learning. You few sisters who are listening learning. Myself from Jim Messalino Camp coming at telling the lesson of true faith, faith, and edification. Another day of edification, Lord willing, to be edifying. So I titled this lesson, Russia is driven to fulfill prophecy. And a bear don't get back into a corner. See, Babylon the Great keep poking at this bear. But the poking of the bear is prophecy. You can't back a bear into the corner, into a corner. So, I got a couple of these clips I'm going to play. Don't get some precepts. Lord, will be edifying. First, this is copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act. It's a copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by the copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing non-profit educational or personal use tips to balance in favor of fair use. So you see it. So Elder Karatazar, he posted a clip yesterday. I'm going to post a clip that I'm going to play the clip that he posted first. Then I got two other news clips I'm going to play. Let's see, poking at this bear, this is prophecy. As the scriptures say, that in Revelations 20, that when them devils come out the caves, that they shall deceive the nations, right? And they shall drive Gog and Magog to war. So I'm going to get that. So let's play this first. The Elder Karatazar from Vegas posted this. So check this out.
Понятно, почему мы разбираем, но сейчас же нас там сколько там, меньше 18% от численного состава нашей армии находится. И ясно почему. Притом армии мирного времени. Ясно почему. Потому что мы готовы к тому, что, может быть, придется столкнуться в прямом боестолкновении со всей армией НАТО.
Let's turn overseas now and the war in Ukraine, where more than a dozen civilians are dead and dozens more hurt after Russian forces bombed a crowded shopping mall in the central city of Kremenchuk. CBS's Remy Inocencio is there.
Thick black smoke billowed from this shopping center in the central Ukrainian city of Kremenchuk this afternoon, the handiwork of Russian missiles. From inside, a man yelled to someone to follow him to safety, while outside, firefighters battled the flames and the wounded were loaded into ambulances. Just a day ago, residents of Ukraine's capital of Kyiv watched as a barrage of Russian rockets glided over buildings, hitting a kindergarten playground and this apartment complex. 6 people were hurt, including this 7-year-old girl and her Russian mother. Her father died. Against this latest backdrop of Russia's 4-month-old war in Ukraine, leaders of the G7 countries meeting in the German Alps pledged even more retribution against the Kremlin. While NATO, its leaders meeting later this week in Spain, said it would increase to more than 300,000 the level of high readiness troops, part of its biggest defense overhaul since the Cold War. And as Ukraine's president, Volodymyr Zelensky, called for yet more modern and effective defenses from the international community. Some have started to arrive. These destroyed Russian military trucks near the Kharkiv front line are thought to be from the first strikes of U.S.-supplied guided rocket systems known as HIMARS that made their way into Ukraine just days ago. But not in time to turn the tide for the eastern city of Severodonetsk. Ukraine ordered a retreat over the weekend, handing the city to Russian forces. And here in the capital, those recent rocket attacks, the first in 3 weeks, are a reminder that even though they've become rare, this city of 3 million people is still very much within reach of Russia's military at any time. Nora?
Remy Inocencio, thank you very much.
NATO will significantly increase its high readiness forces from 40,000 air, land and sea troops to more than 300,000. The announcement comes as G7 leaders met in Germany to discuss what can be done to curb Vladimir Putin's aggression.
As the skies darkened over this summit, so did the mood, with the news from Kremenchuk and a somber assessment from Ukraine's leader. President Zelensky told the G7 his country urgently needs more help. They look relaxed, but their mission here is deadly serious, maintaining unity 5 months into this war. A smiling Prime Minister has left his domestic troubles at home, but also knows he's winning the argument with France and Germany, that now is not the time to negotiate with Putin.
There is no deal that the President Zelensky can really do. So in those circumstances, the G7 supporters of Ukraine around the world have to continue to help the Ukrainians to rebuild their economy, to get their grain out, to export their grain. And of course, we have to help them to protect themselves.
As G7 leaders joined others from developing nations for a family photo, one of the biggest changes in the Western alliance in years was announced elsewhere.
We will transform the NATO response force and increase the number of our high readiness forces to well over 300,000. Together, this constitutes the biggest overhaul of our collective defense and deterrence since the Cold War.
NATO is increasing its rapid response force more than 7-fold and bolstering troop numbers in the Baltics. A radical shift prompted by Russia's aggression against Ukraine. Vladimir Putin wants less NATO. He's ending up now with a lot more of it on his borders. Another of his strategic objectives is dividing the Western alliance. It's gone to great lengths to appear united here. Its leaders at pains to show they're the closest of allies. But they are different countries being tested by this conflict in different ways. Keeping together as the war grinds on for months to come will be a challenge they can't afford to lose. Dominic Waghorn, Sky News, Bavaria.
Yabashimao Shai stirring up is stirring up this pot, man. And mind you, these are all Job 9 and 24s, man, that control these countries, that sits at the G7 summits. So let's get this next one.
Verizon just gave us
So lucky for that. Hold on.
a
Bear
brand new
with me.
iPhone 13.
We've been customers for years.
We got iPhone 13s too.
Damn
Switched
commercial,
2 minutes ago,
man.
literally right before this.
Now everyone can get a new iPhone 13 on us. On America's
Hold on. Bear with me. No, I just had queued these up. So bear with me, Salakia. These devils, man. So we all saw this. So check this out.
2 Russian missile strikes slammed into a crowded shopping center in central Ukraine today. A Ukrainian official said the attack killed at least 10 people, injured dozens of others. This video shows firefighters trying to put out the flames. The Ukrainian president, Volodymyr Zelensky, says more than 1,000 people were in the shopping center. A United Nations spokesman describes the attack as deplorable. In Kyiv, a Russian missile strike hit this apartment building yesterday. Crews rescued a 7-year-old girl from the rubble. Others weren't as fortunate. Kyiv's mayor says the attack killed the girl's father and another resident. This was the first missile strike to hit Kyiv in weeks. As fighting rages in Ukraine, President Biden met with world leaders during the G7 summit in Germany today. They vowed to support Ukraine for as long as it takes. This comes as the Pentagon prepares to send Ukraine another military package. Traveling with the president in Germany, here's CNBC senior Washington correspondent Kayla Tausche.
Shep, the Biden administration is finalizing that new military aid package for Ukraine and is expected to unveil it in the coming days. Sources say it will include the same sophisticated missile defense system that's used to protect the airspace around the White House and U.S. Capitol, and also include artillery, ammunition, and radar systems that detect projectiles, all of which Kyiv has requested. The group of 7 richest economies has also been keeping Ukraine financially solvent during the war. This year alone, sending nearly $30 billion and about $3 billion in humanitarian aid. Today, the White House said it will also use the money from new tariffs on Russian goods to send even more funds to Ukraine. That's just one of the new economic weapons allies are unveiling to keep punishing Russia. Several countries banning the purchase of Russian gold and working to limit the price the rest of the world pays for Russian oil. A senior U.S. official tells me the West wants to shift the messaging away from outright bans of Russian energy, which could drive retail prices even higher. Today, Ukraine's President Zelensky told G7 leaders the West should maximize financial and military leverage for the country over the next few months. And in an interview with NBC's Richard Engel for the Aspen Ideas Festival, Zelensky said there would be more suffering, but Ukraine would be victorious.
I'm sure it will end with Ukraine winning.
The G7 stopped short of suggesting what a ceasefire could look like. In a statement, the leader said it is up to Ukraine to decide on a future peace settlement free from external pressure or influence. Today, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said the U.S. shares Ukraine's desire to avoid a war that drags on indefinitely.
So you see it. They gathering together. As the scripture said it would, they gathering together to come against the bear man. But this is prophecy. The Lord is stirring up this bear man. So let me get this clip, then we'll get some precepts.
Leaders of the 7 largest industrial nations announced new measures today to try and punish Russia
for its invasion of Ukraine. The steps are designed to target Russia's economy and military long term. But in the meantime, Russia's total war in Ukraine marches violently on. Russia's battlefield of choice today, a shopping mall. Moscow continues to claim its targets are military. But Ukrainian officials said the only target of 2 Russian missiles today was full of more than 1,000 civilians shopping. President Zelensky warned the death toll could be, quote, unimaginable. 800 miles away in the Bavarian Alps, G7 leaders spoke to Zelensky via video link. He told them it is not time to negotiate with Russia and urged them to send more weapons and impose more sanctions.
Putin has been counting on from the beginning, and somehow NATO would and the G7 would.
So here's a news update. It say Ghislaine Maxwell sentenced to 20 years in prison. Ghislaine Maxwell has been sentenced to 20 years in prison for helping the wealthy financier Jeffrey Epstein sexual abuse teenage girls. The sentencing Tuesday was the culmination of a persecution that detailed how Epstein and Maxwell flaunted their riches and associations with prominent people to groom vulnerable girls, and then exploit them. So they say she got 20 years prison sentence. Ghislaine Maxwell. Hey, these devils is falling, man. So anyway, Salakia.
Splinter, and but we had it, and we're not going to. So.
The 7 leading industrial countries have so far provided Ukraine more than $2.8 billion in humanitarian assistance. Today, they promised to support the country, quote, as long as it takes, and unveiled new steps: a ban on Russian gold, a price cap on Russian oil, sanctions on Russian defense companies, military units accused of war crimes, and officials operating in Ukraine. And
now you see this? And I think it was about a month or two ago, Biden said that they coming for all the oligarchies of Russia and their ill-gotten gains. Well, how did you Babylonians get your riches? Through ill-gotten gains, man. First and foremost, through rape, rob, murder, pillage, and plundering so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians. Okay, Wall Street was built off the blood, sweat, and tears off the backs of Negro, Latinos, and Native Americans. So for Biden to say that he's coming for Russia ill-gotten gains, all of you have gotten your riches through ill-gotten gains. But that shows you the separation between these Job 9:24s. That's why the Lord say in Ezekiel, Isaiah 19, the Egyptian shall be against the Egyptian, man. So you got all these people, they talking about a ban on Russian gold, a price cap on Russian oil, sanctions on Russia defense companies and military units accused of war crimes, higher U.S. tariffs on Russian goods. Let's start this back, man. You see, this is the separation of Babylon the Great and all this in their whole nation, man. Because remember, in 2 Ezra 11:39, it said the end of their times may come through them. Let's play this again.
Leaders of the 7 largest industrial nations announced new measures today to try and punish Russia for its invasion of Ukraine. The steps are designed to target Russia's economy and military long term. But in the meantime, Russia's total war in Ukraine marches violently on. Russia's battlefield of choice today, a shopping mall. Moscow continues to claim its targets are military. But Ukrainian officials said the only target of 2 Russian missiles today was full of more than 1,000 civilians shopping. President Zelensky warned the death toll could be, quote, unimaginable. 800 miles away in the Bavarian Alps, G7 leaders spoke to Zelensky via video link. He told them it is not time to negotiate with Russia and urged them to send more weapons and impose more sanctions.
Putin has been counting on from the beginning, and somehow NATO would and the G7 would splinter, but we had it, and we're not going to. So
The 7 leading industrial countries have so far provided Ukraine more than $2.8 billion in humanitarian assistance. Today, they promised to support the country, quote, as long as it takes, and unveiled new steps: a ban on Russian gold, a price cap on Russian oil, sanctions on Russian defense companies, military units accused of war crimes, and officials operating in Ukraine, and higher U.S. tariffs on Russian goods with proceeds used to reconstruct Ukraine. This week, the most advanced U.S. weapons sent to Ukraine arrived. In the dead of the night, Ukrainian soldiers fired the High Mobility Advanced Rocket System, or HIMARS. Ukraine asked for 60. The Biden administration is sending 8, with ammunition whose range is capped at 40 miles. A senior administration official told PBS NewsHour today the U.S. will also send advanced air defense weapons known as NASAMS. But those weapons haven't stopped Moscow's military. Last week, Russia destroyed and captured Severodonetsk, formerly Ukraine's administrative center in Luhansk. And today it's, quote, raining fire down on the twin city of Lysychansk, from which Ludmila fled.
What can I tell you? The walls and windows were shaking. You don't know where to hide.
For more on the latest round of sanctions from the G7 on Russia, we turn to Alina Polyakova, president of the Center for European Policy Analysis, a nonpartisan organization that seeks to promote U.S.-European relations and democratic values. Alina Polyakova, welcome back to the NewsHour. Thank you very much. U.S. officials said today that a price cap on Russian oil was among the most important steps that they were going to take from the G7. How would that work, and could it actually reduce Russian income?
Well, it's great to be back on the show, Nick, as always. On the cap on the oil, it's very unclear how that would be implemented in real terms. Russia has expanded significantly its exports to Asia, particularly India and China, where it's been selling discounted energy, especially oil, to those countries that have been happily buying it up, it seems, as Europe starts to cut down on its energy imports from Russia. So imposing a cap where you only have the G7 involved and not those other countries seems like it's going to be very, very difficult.
The G7 is also prohibiting Russian gold. Is that something that could actually reduce Russian income?
I think the big picture to keep in mind here is that the sanctions are already having effects on the Russian economy. The Russian economy is going to be contracting. Russian inflation of the ruble is expected to hit about 20%. So long term, these efforts from the G7 and others will leave the Russian economy incredibly weakened. But I think we're talking about a very different question here. We're talking about the question of whether these sanctions will have a short-term immediate effect on Russia's military strategies and its ability to carry out the war on the ground in Ukraine. So far, unfortunately, the answer to that question has been no. Russia is still carrying out an incredibly brutal offensive in Ukraine. Sanctions have not affected its military capabilities so far. And that is the unfortunate reality that we face. The sanctions are having an effect, but it's much more of a long-term effect versus a short-term effect.
Perhaps the obvious question then is, are there steps that you believe the West should be taking to have more of a short-term impact that can actually change Vladimir Putin's behavior inside of Ukraine now?
Well, I think Mr. Putin believes that he has time on his side right now. He believes that he has the ability to carry out the war much longer than the Western alliance will stay united in solidarity with Ukraine. So the meeting of the G7 was very, very important for that reason. It sent a very clear message of unity. But in the short term, we need to listen to what President Zelensky and the Ukrainians are asking for. Ukraine needs many, many more of those high advanced MLRS systems that we're talking about, the HIMARS and others. Exactly. And others as well.
And this guy Zelensky said, this morning, I was watching the news, he said, why is Russia being so brutal? Well, I tell you in Isaiah 19:4 that the Lord is going to bring a cruel Lord. It said a cruel Lord shall rule over them, a fierce king.
Well, to be able to push back the Russian offensive, there is a clear concern from NATO officials and Ukrainians as well that the Russians might take a break, regroup, and then go back and relaunch their offensive, potentially going after Ukraine's capital, Kiev, yet again. So we're in a very, very dangerous territory right now. And the best thing we can do is increase military and defense supplies to Ukraine immediately.
And certainly senior U.S. officials are worried that Russia has definitely not given up on the longer-term idea of capturing Kyiv. But back to these sanctions, I wonder, are average Russians suffering because of these sanctions?
Certainly they are. I mean, we've seen many sanctions affecting average Russians in terms of their ability to travel, certainly outside of Russia, their ability to purchase.
Man, you see, this is why these devils control the media, man. Hey, listen, man, they doing good over there, man. That bear is doing good over there. You know, Babylon have to throw their slander in there, man. Don't believe what these devils tell you in these medias, man.
Purchase foreign goods and services. But at the end of the day, the Kremlin elite, Mr. Putin among them, of course, they don't care about the living conditions of the Russian population. Living standards are declining. They're expected to decline further and further.
And you know that prophecy in Joel 3, when the Lord say, beat your plowshares in the swords and your pruning hooks in the spears, man. Don't worry about providing food. Get them missiles together. Get that armory together. So whether they doing good or not, man, prophecy is being fulfilled, man.
As these sanctions take hold in the medium and long term. But unfortunately, the Kremlin elite care much more about their direct revenues, how much they're able to take to line their pockets, and all of that primarily comes from Russia's energy exports. So until Russia is no longer able to export those energy sources, it no longer has a market for those energy exports. Unfortunately, those revenues will keep flowing, and that is what is feeding the Russian war machine. And the Russian people are suffering as a result. But the Russian elite, those in power making these decisions, don't particularly seem to care about the condition of the Russian people.
And Alina Polyakova, I got about 35.
Hey, well, that's what the Lord say. The Lord said it, man. Beat your plowshares in the swords and your pruning hooks in the spears, man. Forget about agriculture, man. Let's get this missile defense system together, man.
5 seconds left. So just ask you quickly about companies that I haven't asked you about. Since Russia invaded Ukraine, obviously hundreds of Western companies have left the country. Is that something that people will notice in the Kremlin and the elite and could change their behavior?
I think certainly Russians have been noticing that, there's no more McDonald's, for example, in Russia. But now what we've seen happen is McDonald's, for example, sold off all of its franchises to a Russian oligarch who's now basically replaced McDonald's with a Russian brand. And that's what we're seeing the Russian government do, is kind of provide government-funded alternatives, even to things like Instagram with the Russian government ban, McDonald's, other services that Russians are used to. So Russians are certainly noticing whether it's affecting them, whether they care. It seems to me that they unfortunately do not. To be clear, the poorer the Russian population is, the more they have to think about their daily needs. How am I going to support my kids? Where's my pension going to come from and cover my prescription drugs, things of that nature? The more that benefits the Kremlin, which can carry out anything it wants in the foreign policy domain, while the Russian people have to make ends meet and don't worry so much about what's happening abroad.
Alina Polyakova, always a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Man, things is heating up, man. I got one more clip here. We're gonna get these precepts because these devils, it'll tell you in Revelations 20 that the Lord have stirred up these Babylonian Idumeans to come against the old Russian Idumeans, man. In Revelations 20, he said, "This devil shall come out of his hiding place, and shall go out to the seed of nations, man, and to stir up Gog and Magog, man." The whole prophecy is about stirring up that bear, man. And you can't back no bear into a corner, man. It has never been done. Not a grizzly, not a black bear, not a polar bear, okay, not even a panda. You can't back no bear into the corner, man. I'm sorry. So let's play this.
5 months into the war, the bombs are still dropping on Ukrainians. The G7 leadership has called the missile strike a war crime. Many had predicted the conflict in Ukraine will kick off another Cold War. Tonight, we want to tell you it has already begun. NATO has put 300,000 troops on high alert, 3 lakh soldiers. That should tell you something. NATO leaders are meeting in Madrid for a summit. They're taking a tougher line on Russia. They're also talking about the threat from China. 4 Pacific powers are attending this year's summit. And that shows the kind of focus they have on China. So what is the NATO planning? Is a new conflict just a matter of time, or will they intensify war by other means on gravity?
You see this? Putin and what the name is, Xi Jinping. Listen, man. America in trouble, man. Babylon the Great is in trouble, man.
Us tonight, this is our cover story. First things first, what is a Cold War? Something that is not a typical military war, but it involves proxy battles. It involves economic sanctions and often a serious military buildup. Basically, everything other than what fighting with weapons entails. This is the broad definition.
A new Cold War
The last
begins.
century saw a Cold War between the US and the erstwhile USSR, part of which is now Russia. This Cold War lasted.
You see it? What the scriptures say, man. See, the Lord gave us these scripts first, man, before any of this played out. The Lord say these things are going to happen, man. There is nothing new under the sun. And don't forget about right here it say Israelis parliament to be dissolved amid Iran tensions. Don't forget about what's going on with Iran and Israel, man. Okay? Iran is another ally to Russia, as well as China, man. Listen, who took down the ancient Babylonian Empire? Was not it the Medes and the Persians? Well, guess what? The Lord say in Isaiah 13 and 17, he's going to stir up the Medes to come against Babylon again. This is prophecy, man. This is prophecy, and it's beautiful because like Matthew 13 and 16 say, we get to see these things play out, man. The same 2 allies that came together, the Medes and the Persians, to take down the ancient Babylonians, is going to take down Babylon the Great, man. It's the same thing playing out over again in modern times, man. That's all it is.
For almost 50 years. It ended with the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991. Now a new Cold War has begun. You have your proxy battle, the war in Ukraine. It is pitting the West against Russia. You have your economic sanctions. And now you also have a serious military buildup. Yesterday, the
Putin don't care about no sanctions, man. Putin, Russia and China control most of the gold on the planet, man. 80% of the gold on the planet is being controlled by Russia and China, man. Okay? But remember, who's in control of all of this? It's the elites, man. I'm going to show you an article. All this is controlled. The elites fund both sides of the war, man. This is Yahweh Shema Rashad playing strategic chess, man. This is a chess game, and major chess moves are being made, man. Right? You got your you got your rookies, you got your knights, you got your pawns, you got your bishops, right? You got your king and the queens on the chessboard, man. This is Yahweh Shema Rashad playing strategic chess, man. Calculated steps, man.
NATO made a big move. They have stepped up their deployment significantly. Earlier, 40,000 NATO troops were on high alert. Now 300,000 soldiers will be on high alert. This is the NATO's quick reaction force. If Russia attacks a NATO member, the alliance can send troops more quickly. These soldiers will be based in Eastern Europe. NATO says Russia is now, quote unquote, the most significant and direct threat to this alliance.
These troops will exercise together with home defense forces, and they will become familiar with local terrain, facilities, and our new pre-positioned stocks, so that they can respond smoothly and swiftly to any.
Hey, if you ain't been watching what's going on, right? You see us here, new Cold War begins. Hey, the Soviet Union wants some get back, man, and they shall have it. The Lord say they're going to get it, man. Now, if you ain't been watching what's been going on in the last year, well, let's say the last 6-7 months, you got Russia trying to take Ukraine back, which they will, because Ukraine was a part of the old Soviet Union, right? Then you got China that's taking that will take back Taiwan, man. Okay? China is at Taiwan, Russia at Ukraine, and you got Iran is at Israel, man. And guess what? Babylon the Great, North America, is in the midst of all that because North America is defending Taiwan from China. They defending Ukraine from Russia, and they defending Israel from Iran, man. Guess what? The armies are spread too thin, man. The armies are spread too thin. And according to prophecy, the least of the flock shall draw them out. Who's the least of the flock of the Job 9:24s? It's those over there in the land of Israel, man. That's why I tell you in Joel 2:20, he will remove from thee the northern army and drive them into a land barren and desolate, man. Okay? Babylon the Great's army will be driven into over there between Saudi Arabia and Persia, man. Okay?
In the emergency. Together, this constitutes the biggest overhaul of our collective defense and deterrence since the Cold War.
The biggest overhaul since the Cold War, he says. NATO feels threatened by Russia's actions. They say this response force is a deterrent against Russia. What about China? NATO sees China as a rising threat. There's a tacit agreement on that. So they're shoring up their defenses. This NATO summit in Madrid has 4 new observers: Japan, South Korea, Australia, and New Zealand. Their leaders are also in Madrid. The NATO is expanding its purview. It wants to keep an eye on the Indo-Pacific, more specifically on China's activities in the Indo-Pacific. Why is the NATO worried about China now? NATO Secretary General answered the question last week. I had that statement with me. This is what he says. I'm quoting, "We do not regard China as an adversary, but we need to realize that the rise of China, the fact that they're investing heavily in new modern military equipment, including scaling significantly their nuclear capabilities, investing in key technologies, and trying to control critical infrastructure in Europe, coming closer to us, makes it important for us also to address that."
And Russia and China is doing military drills together right now, man. As we speak, man. You see, that's them trying to. Oh, they not an adversary. Yes, it is. China is going to be an adversary, man. China is joined. China and Russia. Hey, they rolling together, man. Just like Russia and Iran rolling together, man. Don't be fooled, man. Because according to prophecy, see, we don't care what these devils say. We don't need their validation on the prophecies of the Lord, man. The scriptures say otherwise.
The United States shared more specifics. Washington says the threat from Beijing is wide-ranging.
I think it's a reflection of our allies' equal concerns over the effect of China.
You see, what does scripture say about their allies? Man, let's read it, man. Let's read it real quick. Since he mentioned allies, this is, I'm going to get 2 precepts and I'm going to finish this video. This is Obadiah chapter 1 and verse 7. See, prophecy triumphs everything, man. Obadiah 1 and 7, it reads, "All the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border." Now, where did we hear that word confederacy before? In Psalms 83. So check this out. Psalms 83. See, this is about prophecy. And all you bug outs out there that's not speaking prophecy, the Lord gonna destroy you, man. If you're not one of the people of prophecy, the Lord is gonna destroy you. All you fake Mark the Messengers out there, man. All you TD Snakes and Thelflo Dollars and Geno Jennings and all you fake Hebrew Israelites out there, man. You're not speaking to the people about prophecy, about Jacob's trouble. Yahweh Shema Shai is going to destroy you grievously. Psalms 83:3. It reads, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people. They have consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more remembrance. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are what? Buzzword. They are confederate against thee. The tabernacles of Edom and Ishmaelites, of Moab and the Hagarenes, Gebal and Ammon and Amalek, the Philistines with the inhabitants of Tyre. Ashur also has joined with them. They have hope in the children of Lot. So you go back to Obadiah 1:7, when they say, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. All the nations joined to Babylon, the great North America. They will not be allies. They're going to be adversaries, man. That's what the Lord say. And if you don't believe that, the Lord have deceived you, man. The Lord, you know how I call it for the Lord to have deceived you? It say, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee, their allies, have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat thy bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Now, the other precept I want to give was Revelation 17:16. It is talking about his allies. It say, and the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, the 10 horns of the EU nations, and it say, these shall hate the whore and shall make her desolate. The whore is North America, Babylon the Great, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire, man. Okay? And the reason the Lord got them agreeing, verse 17, for power have put in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast until the words of power shall be fulfilled. Once the elect get sealed, all hell is going to break loose out here, man.
These economic practices, use of forced labor, intellectual theft, and coercive, aggressive behavior, not just in the region, but elsewhere around the world, that they believe it's important to factor China into the new strategic concept.
China is closing in on Europe, so NATO is roping in regional powers. It is bringing them closer to the military alliance. South Korea has made the first move. Last week, Seoul made an announcement. It will set up a diplomatic mission to NATO in Brussels. The Belgian capital hosts the headquarters of NATO. South Korea has 3 priorities: information sharing, joint military drills, and joint research. And this is what they want to do to counter the emerging security challenges. So NATO is making new friends. But can it keep the old ones together?
Look,
that's another challenge.
You see that? Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. You see that right there? You see how they flying? Hold on. I got to get the precept, man. It's like it. You see that? That's how Yahweh Shai and the angels going to come back, man. Let's read it. Isaiah 31:5. Look at that. That's that V formation. They designed the planes how the birds fly anyway. Look, this Isaiah 31:5. As birds flying, so will Yahweh of hosts defend Jerusalem, defending also he will deliver it, and passing over he will preserve it. Listen, you can't make this up, man. This is spiritual right here. Hold on. This is how Yahweh Shai going to return, man. Like birds flying.
Friends. But can it keep?
You can't make that up, man. You see it? You see how you got the real big plane in the front? That's going to be the chariot of Yahweh Shai, man, with the angels. You see it? Isaiah 31:5, man. Man, that's beautiful, man. Call Allah Yahweh Shema Shai.
Keep the old ones together. That's another challenge they face. Finland and Sweden have applied for NATO membership. We told you about it. Finland and Sweden.
Got a sense of humor for
Their
real,
bids have become a bone of contention because Turkey does not like the idea. Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan met the leaders of Finland and Sweden. Before landing in Madrid, Erdogan sent them a message.
Bugün Madrid'e gittiğimizde
When we arrive in Madrid today, we are going to have four-way summit with Swedish Prime Minister, Finnish President, and with the attendance of Secretary General of the NATO. NATO membership comes with its
Now,
own
to show you how
responsibility.
cold the Lord is, remember this guy here? Remember he bought F-35s from North America, and he said they wouldn't send them to him. So he went and got missiles from Russia. I think he got S-300, S-400 from Russia and America. I did a lesson on it some months ago. And North America was pissed off with this guy because he had bought missiles from Russia, because he said that North America was taking too long to send him his F-35 jets, fighter jets. You see this? This is how cold the Lord is, man. They are not on the same page. But yet, as I just read in Revelation 17, the Lord put the spirit on them to give their kingdom to the beast until the words of the Lord be fulfilled, man. But they all against Russia, though. Let's listen.
If Finland and Sweden are going to be NATO members, they have to take Turkey's security concerns into consideration, which has been a member for 70 years. It cannot be through the other way around.
Güvenlik endişelerini dikkate almak zorundalar.
So NATO is a divided house as it tries to take on both Russia and China, and this will not be easy. Some members want NATO to preempt threats in the Indo-Pacific, which means challenging China militarily. Will Turkey agree to that? What about countries like Germany that have deep economic ties with China? Will they agree to NATO's new posturing? The meeting in Madrid could throw up answers to these questions and more. NATO's expansionism has been blamed for Russia's aggression. How will putting 300,000 troops in Eastern Europe impact the war in Ukraine and the equations beyond? The Madrid summit could well determine the fate of the global security order. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get...
So you see it, man. Now, real quick. It's a, let me look up something real quick. I want to see, because it say Argentina and Iran is joining BRIC nations. So it's a, from source across the web, it got BRICS nations is China, Brazil, India, and Russia. So, see? Wow, I had to look this up. It's been a minute since I looked at it. So you got, go to BRICS Wikipedia. It say, this is beautiful, man. BRICS is the acronym coined to associate 5 major emerging economies. It's the Federative Republic of Brazil, the Russian Federation, the Republic of India, the People's Republic of China, and the Republic of South Africa. You see? And that's why I tell you in Ezekiel 38, man, Libya shall join them. Wow. So it say the BRICS members are known for their significant influence on world affairs. Since 2009, the governments of the BRIC states have met annually at former summits. China hosted the most recent 14 BRIC summits on June 24th, 2020. Man. Look, and they say right here on this clip, let's go back to it real quick. Just on the side, I'm not going to click on it. If you look right here, it said, right here on the side, you see it. Iran and Argentina applied to join BRICS. You see it? Come on, man. Listen, man. The Lord has stirred up the pot. Now I also want to show this, because the Lord said he was going to bring these devils out of the cave, which they all Job 9:24s. So let me look at this. Now I'm going to show you before this was all broadcast on their World Wide Web, it was written in the scriptures, man. Now look right here. It's a trinity of the globalist control. Let me show you something. Look here. It's a City of London Corporation, financial power, right? Established in 1067. It's a District of Columbia, military power, right? Established 1871. Vatican City, religious power, sovereign in 1929. Now let me show you something. It say all three are separate states, completely independent of their respective countries. Right? It say all three. You see it? Select it. All three. You see it? All three are separate states, completely independent of their respective countries. Now it say City of London, financial, District of Columbia, military, Vatican City, religious. Now, what does the beast make up? What is the beast? The beast is EU, monetary, NATO, military, and you got religion, which is Vatican, right? This is Revelation chapter 16. See, the Lord gave us the scripts first, man. And then everything else played out according to prophecy of the scriptures, man. This is Revelation 16. You remember it say three right there: military, monetary, and religion. This is Revelation 16 and verse 13. It reads, and I saw three unclean spirits, and I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they are spirits of devils working miracles, which goeth forth unto the kings of the earth and of the whole world to gather them to battle of the great day of the Lord power. Right? It say, behold, I am come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame, which means you don't have this truth. You don't have this covering. That's what the Lord said in Matthew 22 when he asked the guys, how did this guy get in here with no garment on? Right? This is verse 16. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. Right? So, Armageddon. So, it say the point. It said, and I saw Revelation 16 and 13, and I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. That's military, monetary, and religious, man. You see it? That's what's going on, man. You got these three unclean spirits: EU, NATO, Babylon the Great. Right? You got the military, monetary, and you got religion, man. These are those three unclean spirits. And what are they doing? This is Revelation chapter 20 and verse 7. It reads, and when 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them to the battle, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is the sand of the sea. Now, this article right here, give you all the head nations, right? You see it: Rothschilds, Bauer or Bauer family, Rockefeller, Oppenheimers, Goldsmiths. You see it? They all here. Cohens. They all here. These are the royal families in there. These are the top ones in the red. You see it? It's a lot of them. Then you got the ones in the black. You see them? Yeah. These are the families. But the main ones is in the red. Now, the point of this is to show you the trinity of globalist control. City of London, financial, District of Columbia, military, Vatican, religious. These are the three unclean spirits come out of the mouth, man. Okay? Let's read again. Revelation 16 and 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon. What dragon? The Roman Empire, man. And out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet, which is who? Roman Catholic dogma. Roman Catholic. You see it? The Roman Catholic Church, man. Yeah. The Lord had it written in the scriptures first, man. So yeah, I just want to show that. Let's get these precepts. This is Ezekiel 38. And see what they're doing is stirring up this bear, man. As a matter of fact, let's get this first. Isaiah 13 and 17, it reads, Behold, I will stir up the Medes against them, which shall not regard silver, and as for gold, they shall not delight in it. Their bows also shall dash the young men to pieces, and they shall have no pity on the fruit of the womb. Their eyes shall not spare children. Did not they do this to us? The same thing these Babylonian devils did to us. The Lord is using their own people to do to them, man. You say, verse 19, and Babylon, the glory of kingdoms, the beauty of Chaldees' excellency, shall be as when power overthrew Sodom and Gomorrah. You see? With what? How did the Lord overthrow Sodom and Gomorrah? With fire and brimstones, man. Revelation 9, man. So, the Lord is stirring up the Medes. When you go to Daniel 7, matter of fact, let's get Daniel 2. This is Daniel 2 and verse 38. This is Daniel 2 and 37. Let's read 36. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king. Thou, O king, art the king of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power and strength and glory, and whatsoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven, have he given into thine hand, and have made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over the earth. Now it say, and after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, which was the Medo and Persian Empire, right? When you go to Daniel 7, this is Daniel 7 in verse 4. The first was like a lion and had eagle's wings. I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked, and it was lifted up from the earth. Those wings, they said the lion that had eagle's wings was going into the Syrian Empire, right? It say, I beheld till the wings thereof were plucked off, and it was lifted up from the earth and made stand upon the feet as a man, and a man's heart was given to it, which is the Babylonian Empire, right? Which stems from the Syrian Empire. It said, and behold, another beast, a second, like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in its mouth of it, between the teeth of it, and they said, thus unto arise devour much flesh. Now this beast, the bear, we're talking about the Medo and Persian Empire, which took down the Babylonian Empire. And that's the point I want to make, because this beast, the bear, which was the Medo and Persian Empire, came together to take down the Babylonian Empire, right? Now you go to Revelation, it talks about the feet of this beast being the bear, man. This is Revelations. You gotta put these together, man. This is Revelations. It's Revelations chapter 13 and 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw the beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. Now this beast is talking about EU, NATO, and Babylon the Great, North America, man. It's having 7 heads, but you know what the 7 heads is. If you in the know, you know the 7 heads. And upon his horns, having 7 heads and 10 horns, and upon his horns, 10 crowns, and upon his head the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was and the beast which I Salakia, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard. That leopard was the Greek Empire. Let's see, okay, start with Alexander the Great. That was the beginning rulership of the so-called white man. It say, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were like the feet of a bear. So this is talking about the same bear in Daniel 7, man. It said the head, and I saw the beast which I saw like unto a leopard, and his feet were like the feet of a bear, man. Okay, so Russia is the end of the 7-head and 10-horn beast, man. Because this is who the Lord is going to use to destroy the beast. It's going to be Russia and China and Iran, man. Okay, it said that the BRICS nations, right? Let's pull it up again. These BRIC nations, and then it said that Iran and Zimbabwe, I mean Iran and Argentina. It's a BRICS is the acronym coined to associate 5 major emerging economies. It's the Federative Republic of Brazil, the Russian Federation, the Republic of India, the People's Republic of China, and the Republic of South Africa. You see? And you got, it said Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, man. And that's why I tell you in Ezekiel 38, man, Libya shall join to them, man. And now you got what it just showed that Iran, which we already know, man. Iran is going to join Russia too, man. So let's go back. This is beautiful, man. The Lord is stirring these devils up, man. Revelations 13 and 2, and the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, right? Now, when you go back to Daniel 7 and 4, it say, Daniel 7 and 5, and behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth. What are these 3 ribs, man? It's Lydia, Babylon, and Egypt, man. Okay? The Medo Persians destroyed Babylon. They conquered Babylon, man. It say verse 6, and this I beheld, lo, and another like a leopard, right? Which had upon the back of it 4 wings of a fowl. The beast had also 4 heads, and dominion was given to it. So this leopard right here in Daniel 7:6 is the same leopard in Revelation 13. Let's read again. Because this beast in Revelation 13 is talking about the nations of Esau, Edom, man. Okay? The Idumean nations, man. It said the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, which was the beginning rulership of the so-called white man, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, because that's the end of them. Russia is going to be the end of Babylon the Great, man. When it says giving a man's heart, does that mean the understanding that was given? Well, the understanding that he was given, the Lord gave him the understanding that he was using him. So I would say, yeah, but not the understanding of, because the only one that can receive this understanding is the understanding of Israel. But the Lord used him. He used him for a reason. Just like he used Balaam. What was his name? Balak? Or was it Balaam? I think it was Balaam. Let me check. That's why Balaam said he wished that his end can be like ours. Was that Numbers 23? And Balaam said unto Balak, stand by the burnt offering. Yeah, so Yeah. And God met Balaam and he said unto him, I have prepared 7 altars. Yeah, so Balaam, just like the Lord used Balaam, he used Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah. So he didn't give an understanding of us, of this truth, but he gave him the understanding that he was being used. So yeah. But anyway, so back to Ezekiel 38. So the Lord is using these nations to stir up this bear, man, because you can't back a bear into a corner, man. It's Ezekiel 38:1. And the word of Yahweh came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord power, behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws. And you see what they saying on the news? A new Cold War, man. This is the Lord putting the hooks into their jaws, man. And I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws and will bring thee forth. So this is that old Cold War mentality, man. That old Cold War mindset. I will bring thee forth in all thy armies, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with bucklers and shields, all of them handling swords. Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet, Gomer and all his bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarter. As a matter of fact, hold on, bear with me. Let me pull this up real quick. Let me get this. Bear with me for a second. Let's pull this up. I got this on my bear with me for a moment. I'm gonna see if I can get this real quick. Cause I got this on my, if I can find it here. If I can't find it, I ain't gonna worry about it. Cause I got a picture of these nations. If I can't find it, I ain't gonna worry about it. I meant to pull it up before I even did this lesson too. Let's see. Just bear with me. I gotta open up a couple of folders here. Bear with me. Man, I just want to show you these nations in Ezekiel 38. I got it. I had posted it on my channel just so I can have it because I used it a while ago. Let's see. Probably in here. Damn it. So yeah, I had a picture, man, of showing all these nations. Hold on. You know what? I got a better idea. Let me do this. Hold on, because I want to show you this. Let me do this. Let me do this. Let me go to Google and see if I can pull it up in Google. Let's see. Because I actually got it. I actually got it from Google. Bear with me. Bear with me. So how the map mapped out. It ain't. Bear with me here. I'm scrolling through, trying to find the one that I got. I'm gonna have to re-download it to my phone. I mean, on the, cause I got it on my phone. I got it in my computer. I want to show you the map though. They already got it mapped out, man. In all the nations that they got mapped out on the image, it's all accurate. Here you go. Call like how about Shema Shah. So let me show it to you. Call like how about Shema Shah. So look at this. You see right here? It's a, let me sure you can see it. Okay. I got it on my computer somewhere, but I don't want to be taking all the while to pull it up. I got it in the folder. But right here, so you see it say Gog and Magog war, Ezekiel 38 and 39. Now I'm going to read this again and show you. So this is Ezekiel 38. And it's all lined up with prophecy, man. It's all, and the Lord got the spirit of these devils to put these things on the unicorn, man. So it's a Ezekiel 38 in verse 4, and I will turn thee back and put hooks into thy jaws, and I will bring thee forth in all thy army, horses and horsemen, all of them clothed with all sorts of armor, even a great company with buckler and shields, all of them handling swords. It's a Persia. You see it? Persia, Iran, which was the ancient ones that took down the Medes and Persians, took down the ancient Babylon. It's a Persia, Ethiopia, right? So this don't got Ethiopia on it, but it got to be Ethiopia is what? Cush, right? It's a Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with shield and helmet. It's a Gomer, right? You got Gomer, Eastern Europe. It's a, and all his bands, the house of Togarmah, Turkey, right? It's a, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all his bands, and many people with thee, right? Now it said India is in there, in the in the in the BRICS nations. It said India and South Africa, right? So it's a Russia, Magog, Iran, Persia, former Soviet Union, Meshach and Tubal, Eastern Europe, Gomer, Turkey, Togarmah, Sudan, Kush, and Libya. You see it? Which is put. You see it? So I just want to show that. So let's go back. It's a, be thou prepared and prepare for thyself, thou and all thy company that are assembled unto thee, and be thou a guard unto them. And that's what the Lord is doing, man. This is Jeremiah chapter 50 and 9. It reads, for lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country, and they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be of a mighty expert man, none shall return in vain. You see, this is Jeremiah 50 and verse 45. It reads, it said, therefore hear ye to the counsel of Yahweh that he have taken against Babylon, and his proposes that he have proposed against the land of the Chaldeans. Surely the least of the flock shall draw them out. Surely he shall make their habitation desolate with them. And when you go to 2nd Ezra 11 and 39, it reads this: Are not thou it that remainest of the fourth beast, whom I made to reign in my world, that the end of their times might come through them? So when you see the feet of Babylon is the bear, the end of their times is going to come through them, man. And this guy Zelensky said, why is Russia? Why is it why Russia is being so brutal? Well, the Lord said this in Isaiah 19. It's Isaiah 19 and 1. The burden of Egypt, behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud, and shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence, and the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. And I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians, and they shall fight everyone against his brother, and everyone against his neighbor, city against city, and kingdom against kingdom. Or what is it in 2nd Ezra? The one ram shall fight against another, right? And the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to wizards. This is the point. And the Egyptians will I give over into the hand of a cruel Lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord of hosts. So when Zelensky said, why is Russia being so brutal? Because the Lord is putting over them a cruel Lord, a fierce king, man. Now, before I close out, I want to back this up. Let's go to this real quick. I want to go back to this Daniel 7 and look up this word. I'm going to say the Lord shall give him a heart. Let's read it real quick here. Real quick. So right here, it said man's heart. Let's look this up. Because we know the Lord made this guy eat grass, man. Turned him to like a beast of the field, man. And the Lord made him eat grass. So right here it say, let's look at this word. A man's heart, right? Let's look it up in the Strong definition. It say, inner man, mind, will, heart, sound, understanding. Inner part, miss, right? Because remember, mind, knowledge, thinking, reflection, memory, inclination, resolution, determination, heart of moral character, as seat of appetites, of seat of emotions and passion, of seat of courage. So we know the Lord made him eat grass like a beast, right? But the Lord gave him an understanding of why he was going to make Nebuchadnezzar eat grass, man. Because when you read about in Ezekiel, right? Hey, the water too, because hey, we gotta stay sharp on these things like this, man. In Ezekiel 28, remember what Esau said. He said, this is what the Lord said. Ezekiel 28 and 3, because thou art wiser than Daniel, there is no secret that thou can hide from thee. With thy wisdom and with thy understanding thou hast gotten thee riches, and hast gotten gold and silver into thy treasures. When you read the story of Nebuchadnezzar, he was boasting in himself that he was the man, right? When you read that story, when you start reading about Nebuchadnezzar, and go to Daniel 1 and read all the way through to chapter 7, he was boasting. That's the same thing the Lord did to Antiochus Epiphanes. He was boasting that he was God and there's nobody on earth like him. What did the Lord do? And they tell when you read in 2 Maccabees, when the Lord started to destroy Antiochus Epiphanes, he humbled down, and then he was like, Lord, forgive me. I know it's nobody like you. And the Lord, he's destroyed him, man. But that comes from that pride, just like Esau, Obadiah 1 and 3. So it say, by great wisdom and by thy traffic has thou increased thy riches, and thy heart is lifted up because of thy riches. That was Nebuchadnezzar, man. Okay, same thing. Therefore, thus saith Yahweh Shema power, because thou hast set thine heart as the heart of God. Behold, therefore I will bring strangers upon thee, the terrible of the nations, and they shall draw their swords against thy beauty of thy wisdom, and they shall defile thy brightness. Again, you see it? It's all talking about those Job 924 Russians destroying the North American Job 924s. It say, they shall bring thee, and this time out Russia destroying Babylon the Great. They shall bring thee down to the pit, and thou shalt die the deaths of them that are slain in the midst of the seas. Would thou yet say before him that slayeth thee, I am God? But thou shalt be a man, you see, and no God. It's the same thing. That's spirit, bro. It's the same thing the Lord did to Nebuchadnezzar, man. He say, but thou shalt be a man and no God. In the hand of him that slayeth thee, thou shalt die the deaths of the uncircumcised by the hand of strangers, for I have spoken it, saith the Lord, Yahweh Shema power. So yeah, man, the same thing the Lord did with Nebuchadnezzar. Oh, what is that? Obadiah 1 and 3. It reads, the pride of thy heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the cliffs of the rocks, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? And though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith Yahweh Shema Shah. So you see, yeah, man, he gave Nebuchadnezzar the understanding of why he finna make him eat grass, man. Why you about to be the way you finna be? What did he say? For 7 years, he made Nebuchadnezzar eat grass like a bull, man. Okay? Yeah, man. So he gave him that understanding of why he was finna do to him what he was going to do to him because of his boasting of his pride, man. Nebuchadnezzar was proud as shit, man. Yeah, so Lord was edifying. Got to give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh, Ba'ashem Rikah Kodash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel, whether accepted or not. In the sense of salutation to all the Akim pushing this truth and believing this truth throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking up the hopeful elect. And shalom to the Akbar who are listening and learning, you few sisters who are listening and learning. So I want to read this because this is about these nations that's been assembled. This is Jeremiah 51:27. It reads, set ye up a standard in the land, blow the trumpet among the nations, prepare the nations against her, call together against her the kingdoms of Ararat, which is Turkey. That's what the ark landed at. Just say many in Ashkenaz, appoint a captain against her, cause the horses to come up as the rough caterpillar. A caterpillar eat up the crops to destroy. Prepare against her the nations with the kings of the Medes. You see, the captains thereof, and all the rulers thereof, and all the land of his dominion. This is the Lord stirring up that bear, man. Okay, Ezekiel 38, Jeremiah 59. The Lord is causing these nations together with Russia, man. Okay, it called the BRIC nations, man. And guess what? As it tells, as I read in Revelation 17 and 17, man, Revelation 17 and 16, the 10 horns on the beast, the 10 horns are the EU nations, man. They're going to leave North America too and join the BRIC nations. It tell you right here in Jeremiah 50 in verse 12. It's Jeremiah 50 and 12. Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Who bare Babylon the Great? They came out of Great Britain, man. And show you how cold it is. You saw Boris Johnson sitting in that meeting, man. Okay? With these guys, man. Right? Hold on. Salakia. Well, you saw, I'm gonna go back and pull it. You saw Boris Johnson sitting in the meeting with the president of France, right? Biden. You saw he was sitting there, man. Boris Johnson. Was it not a whole Brexit deal going on a little while ago about EU separation from Babylon the Great? But you see, they still joined, man. They cutting certain ties, but they still join. That's how the Lord playing chess, man. They say Jeremiah 50 and 12, your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. And that's Great Britain, man. North America came out of Britain, man. Now, right here, I want to close with this. This is Joel 2 and 20. Because you see, they say they finna have 300,000 to 400,000 troops in Ukraine ready to, man, listen, man. All you Jakes that's going for, you want to go fight for your country, you want to be a good patriot, you're going to die, man. Grievous. Joel 2 and 20. But I will remove far off from you the northern army and will drive him into a land barren and desolate with his face towards the east sea, which is the Persian Gulf, and his hinder part towards the utmost sea, which is the Red Sea, and his stink shall come up, and his ill savor shall come up because he have done great things, man. If you go look at that map, okay, over there in Saudi Arabia in the Persian Gulf, they're gonna be, hey, it's gonna be a war, man, battle, man. It say with his face towards the east sea, the Persian Gulf, and his hinder part towards the utmost sea, and his stink shall come up. Is also in Isaiah 34 about how they stink, man. And 2nd Ezra 13. Dust and smells of smoke, man. Ezra said. Isaiah said the same thing, man. Okay? That's that battle, man. So, the wife for tuning in. May you have Shema shall continue blessing your houses. Stay prayed up. But remember, as I showed you earlier, remember, the Lord gave the power to these devils to control both sides of the war, man. Let me show you again. You see it? Trinity of globalist control. Trinity of globalist control. Job 9:24. The earth was given to the hand of the wicked. And it's the least of the flock, man, that shall draw everybody else out to fight war, man. City of London, corporation, financial. District of Columbia, military. Vatican City, religious. You see it? And as it said in Revelation 16, let's close with that. Revelation 16 and 13. And I saw 3 unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon, and out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. The dragon is the Roman Empire. You see it? The beast is EU, NATO, and North America. And the false prophet is the Roman Catholic Church, man. The Lord had this already in the scriptures before this was already on YouTube, man. Before this was on the internet. You see it? Look, key players of the one world order. Lord Jacob D. Rothschild, his son Nathan, Baron David D. Rothschild, Sir Evelyn D. Rothschild, Benjamin D. Rothschild, David Rockefeller, Henry Kissinger, George Soros, and it said Lord Blankfein. Lord Blankfein. You see it? The power behind the Committee of 300 is the Anglo-Jewish cousinhood that dominate the financial and political systems of the world. The cousinhood includes the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, Oppenheimers, Goldsmiths, Mercader, Montiflora, Sassoons, Wahlberg, Samuels, Kaduri, Franks, Worms, Stein, and Cohen's families. So you see it. So Lord was edifying. Gotta give all praise, honor, and glory to Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, Bahashim Rikah Kodash. Give honors to the apostles and elders, bishops and elders of great millstone who rule well, who teach well, who are the apostles and elders of all of Israel. Whether you can accept it or not. In a sense, your salutation to all the Akim pushing this truth and believing this truth. Throughout the four winds of the earth, the entire world, waking on the hope for the elect. And shalom to the walk who are listening and learning. You few sisters who are listening and learning. Lord was edifying till next time. Say shalom. To all for tuning in. May Yahweh Shema Shah continue to bless you in your houses. Stay prayed up. Wah, ba, ba, ba.